Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Martin. On behalf of the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame, I'd like to welcome you to this virtual event. Normally at this time of year, we'd be coming to you from downtown Fresno, Valdez Hall, for the annual Enshrinement Dinner, where we honor the past, celebrate the present, and inspire the future. The Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame is very proud of its past. Established in 1958, the hall to date has enshrined 341 individuals and 34 teams. That brings us to the present. Again, if 2020 were a normal year, minus COVID-19, we'd be welcoming the class of 2020. We still plan to honor the class of 2020, we just won't induct them until next year, when we can celebrate with them in person. We'll introduce you to that class shortly.
But right now it's time to talk about the future, and there is a very specific reason for why we're coming to you inside the Save Mart Center, in the southwest corner of the Save Mart Center. This area is about to be the permanent home for the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame. For more on that, we welcome in Walt Bird, who is the chairperson on this particular project. Walt, let's start at the beginning. How did the Save Mart Center and the conversation with Fresno State begin for this to be the permanent home for the Hall of Fame?
Well, about 4 years ago, we had a conversation with Dr. Castro. Bill Smitkamp and I approached Dr. Castro with the idea of possibly locating the Hall of Fame on the Fresno State campus. And he came back with the offer of this beautiful space in the southwest corner of the Save Mart Center. And it fits us, it's ideal because it gives us a lot of wall space, it gives us an opportunity to really appropriately recognize the over 330 men and women enshrined in the Hall of Fame.
We see what it looks like now. What is it going to look like?
Well, what you see right now is blank walls, and it will evolve into something similar to what you see here. A lot of technology, giving people an opportunity to come in and really research and explore the stories of these amazing Hall of Famers. We have a partnership with the Fresno County Office of Education, and our goal there is to bring students to the Hall of Fame to learn about the character and the perseverance and the personalities of these great athletes and why they became the champions that they are. And we certainly can use that message in today's world.
Walt, a project of this magnitude, what was the toughest part about getting it off the ground?
Well, I think the toughest part was being able to settle on a scope of work, exactly what we wanted to do. We have a very, very talented designer, but it needed to fit in, obviously, to our budget. And we wanted to be able to bring these stories alive especially for our young students to be able to see. So I think it was really settling on how we wanted to do that. But we've come together, and I think we've got a very, very successful opportunity here.
So this particular area, which will hopefully get started on construction very soon, it'll be finished hopefully not too long after that. Who's designing it, and how much will it cost? We
have a contract with Solutions by Design, who is our designer. We're also working with Mark Wilson Construction as our construction management firm. And we intend to be under construction hopefully in the next month or so. And depending on approvals, we would like to be having a grand opening sometime in late April, early May. In terms of cost, the entire project, as you see it, will cost somewhere in the area of $1.5 million. We've had a fundraising campaign for the last 5 years, and we're within $300,000 of that full project. So the first phase of this project will be as far as we can go with the funding that we have right now, with the idea that we will complete it in the near future based on community support.
And the goal is to go for the wow factor, right? I mean, you want the community to be excited about this. Where are you on the step to making that happen?
Well, there's nothing like this in Central California. We've looked up and down the state. We are really going to have a unique facility that will bring these stories alive. And as I said, through the use of technology. You see a large truss that will be able to stream stories, messages across in this area. We have floor-mounted kiosks that people will be able to come in, and it's all touch screen, state-of-the-art touch screen technology. So we're really excited about the way we're going to be able to tell these amazing stories.
Now, Walt, the Hall of Fame was established in 1958, so it went without a permanent home for a very, very long time. Why is it important to have a permanent home?
Well, obviously, there's a rich history of athletes that came out of this valley and teams that have been nationally recognized. And it's a shame that we bring those out once a year at our dinner. This is going to provide us an opportunity to have it out for the public to see 365 days a year. The Save Mart Center in Fresno State have been very cooperative with providing access to this facility. So we just think it's important to be able to have our community, especially the future generations, be able to visit this facility to see these stories. Like I say, we've had a capital campaign for about the last 3.5 years. Community has been very supportive. There's a lot of people excited about this project, and I want to thank those people. People in the future that would like to get involved, they can certainly contact our office. Website is fresnoahof.org. Phone numbers are available on that website, and we would welcome anybody who wants to get involved with this very, very exciting project.
All right, he's Walt Bird, and you can read it right here. Coming soon, Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame. Now let's meet the class of 2020.
And we'll start with a man being inducted posthumously. Floyd Doc Buchanan. He was known as a champion of education, though he actually grew up wanting to be a heart surgeon. Buchanan was born in Arkansas, but raised in Colorado. He moved to California when he attended Cal, graduating with a doctorate. In 1957, Doc Buchanan was 33 years old when he became the principal of the Jefferson Elementary School District in Clovis. 3 years later, he was named the first superintendent of the Clovis Unified School District. He held that position until 1991, 31 years. Doc Buchanan was a visionary. He was also a man of many interests. He was a farmer and a handyman. He studied religion. He read Westerns. And he was big into sports. A 4-sport athlete in high school and a 3-sport athlete in college, Buchanan was a state-recognized wrestler as a teenager who would regularly wrestle his 5 children later in life. He would pin all 5. In 1991, the Clovis Invitational Wrestling Tournament was renamed the Doc Buchanan Invitational. Buchanan High School, which opened in 1993, is also named in honor of Doc Buchanan. Phil Casey. In 2015, he was inducted into the Auto Racing Hall of Fame, now known as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame. Born in Clovis in 1937, Casey grew up on a farm. He was surrounded by figs and grapes. And by siblings, he has 2 brothers and 3 sisters. Phil Casey was 11 years old when he worked on his first hot rod. He and his brother used to take transmissions out, he said. Casey is a 1956 graduate of Roosevelt High School. He did not play sports in high school, choosing instead to work in an automotive repair shop. Those skills would certainly come in handy. Casey found his calling as a mechanic. For 35 years, he worked with the likes of A.J. Foyt, Roberto Guerrero, and Janet Guthrie. He won the United States Auto Club National Championship competition 9 times. In 1996, he became the technical director for the newly formed Indy Racing League. Phil Casey is one of 2 Fresno area natives inducted into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame. The other is Bill Vukovich. Kim Marr. Currently the head women's softball coach at Southwestern Oklahoma State, Marr was a standout player at Fresno State. She played first base her freshman year in 1991, then moved to shortstop as a sophomore. In her 4 seasons as a Bulldog, Kim Marr appeared in 263 games. A second-team All-American as a senior, she was a 4-time All-Conference player who left as the program's all-time leader in home runs, RBI, runs, and doubles. In 1993, Marr was Fresno State's Female Athlete of the Year. Ironically, it was the only year during her 4-year career in which the Bulldogs did not advance to the Women's College World Series. Kim Marr is also an Olympic gold medalist, 1996 in Atlanta, and she shared that stage with several Bulldogs, Laura Berg, Julie Smith, Shelley Stokes, and Margie Wright, who was an assistant coach. Kevin Sutherland. At 56 years old, he tells people he is still doing what he did when he was 10. Sutherland has been a professional golfer since 1987. Born and raised in Sacramento, he attended Christian Brothers High School, and it was actually his track and field coach there who suggested he might want to consider attending Fresno State. The Bulldogs did not offer him a scholarship, but he picked them anyway, walking on to Mike Watney's team in 1983. Sutherland redshirted his first year at Fresno State. By the time he was a senior in 1987, he had turned into the Pacific Coast Athletic Association's Golfer of the Year. He was also a second-team All-American. While at Fresno State, Kevin Sutherland played alongside his brother, David, who was a Bulldog from 1985 through 1989. The thought of turning pro did not occur to Kevin Sutherland until his senior year in college. It was Watney who told him, quote, "You're good enough to play at the next level." 33 years later, Sutherland is still playing at that level. An active member on the PGA Tour Champions, Kevin Sutherland has 5 wins in his professional career. He has earned millions of dollars, has traveled the world, once shot a 59, and he even played around with his idol, Jack Nicklaus. And finally, the 1961, 1962, and 1963 Fresno City College baseball teams. Back to back to back state champions. Coached by Len Bourdette, who took over the program in 1958, the Rams won 72 games in those 3 seasons. In 1961, they defeated Cerritos College to win their first state championship. In 1962, Dick Selma entered the picture. He would go on to have a 10-year career in Major League Baseball. That season, he went 13-2, with one of those wins coming in the first game of the championship series against Orange Coast College. In 1963, the Rams won their 3rd straight state championship by beating Long Beach City College. FCC had 2 future major leaguers on that team, Dick Selma and Ross Moschito, an outfielder from Atwater who was just 20 years old in 1965 when he made his big league debut for the New York Yankees. Fresno City College won its 3 consecutive state baseball championships in its first 14 years of existence. As of 2020, the Rams have won a total of 5 state baseball championships, adding titles in 1972 and 1992. Certainly a very deserving group, but as we prepare to welcome the class of 2020, we unfortunately have to say goodbye to several Hall of Famers who recently passed away. Tom Summers joins us now to remember them.
It's been our tradition each year to remember and honor those inductees who have passed away since our dinner 1 year ago. So tonight we're going to remember 7 great past inductees. Bob Bennett, 1990, baseball, passed away on May 31st of this year at age 86. Came from Oklahoma, Roosevelt High School, played for the great Ollie Bidwell, went on to Fresno State to play for the legendary Pete Biden. And at Fresno State, he learned the fundamentals of baseball. Bob Bennett went on to coach at Kingsburg High School and Bullard High School. Stepped in 1967 when Pete Biden took a 1-year sabbatical to be the head coach of the Bulldogs. And then when Pete Biden retired after 1969, Bob Bennett was hired as the full-time coach from 1970 to 2002. He ended up with 1,302 wins, ranking 10th best in the history of college baseball, a winning percentage of over 63%. Coach Bennett also headed up a over $2 million fundraiser to build Biden Field in the early 1980s. And then in 2016, we added his name to that stadium, so now it's called Pete Biden Field at Bob Bennett Stadium. Bob Bennett is probably the greatest pitching coach and college catching coach in the history of college baseball. His family set up an endowment scholarship in Bob's name, and one of his proudest moments was to have the privilege of coaching his 2 sons, Brad and Todd Bennett. Second, Fred Red Barnes, 1987, pole vaulter, Turlock High School, 2 years in Korea, came to Fresno State in 1950 to participate under the great Dutch Warmerdam. Fred Red Barnes vaulted 14 feet, 8.5 inches, was the Fresno State record at that time. And he was considered the number 2 pole vaulter in the entire world at that time, behind the legendary Reverend Bob Richards. What an accomplishment. And if you were at the 1987 induction dinner, when Red Barnes was inducted, you'll remember his very enlightening and very, very exciting speech. Next, Sam Bogosian, 1978 in football. Played at Fresno High School for the great Irwin Ginsburg, was All-League in 49 and 50, All-Northern California team in 50. Went on to play for the great legendary Red Sanders at UCLA. was a starter from 1951 to 1954. And in 54, he was all coast, played in the Rose Bowl, and participated in the East-West Shrine Game. Bogosian became a coach at UCLA from 1955 to 1964. Then he went on to Oregon State through 1973, and then to the NFL as a line coach for the Houston Oilers for 2 years, and then to the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Bogosian. Next, the legendary Boyd Grant. Basketball, 1993, born on August 17th of 1933, the winningest coach in Fresno State University basketball history. D&D, defense and discipline. That was all about Boyd Grant, and his players lived up to that. Defense and discipline. His first year at Fresno State was 1977. 3 times his teams went to the NCAA tournament in appearances, and in 1983 they won the great NIT by beating DePaul 69-60. During those years, Salin Arena had to be expanded because the red wave was coming out in droves for all the ball games for the Fresno State basketball team. It was now known as Grant's Tomb because Boyd Grant very rarely lost a home game while at Fresno State. In fact, in his entire coaching career, he only lost 27 games at home while winning 157. After leaving Fresno State, he went on to Colorado State and retired in 1991 with an incredible record of 275 wins and 120 losses. The great Boyd Grant. Next, Art Rubel, swimmer, inducted in 2000. A big guy, 6'4", 220-pounder from Madera High School, actually passed away on Christmas Day of 2019. Came to Fresno State in 1972 to 1976, had a BA degree in geography. Three times an All-American swimmer. 1976 Athlete of the Year at Fresno State. 8 varsity letters in swimming and water polo. Let me repeat that, 8 varsity letters. A gold medal in the Pan Am Games in 1975, and Art Rubel had 10 Fresno State individual records. Next, Ryan Wetnight, 2005 football, Hoover High School graduate, all-state tight end at Fresno City College, went on to play 2 years at Stanford University under the great Bill Walsh, and then had an 8-year career in the NFL as a tight end, 6'2", 230, played for the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. And while the Chicago Bears, he was awarded the Brian Piccolo Award, which is given to the player who's most courageous and the greatest teamwork man, Ryan Wetnight. And lastly, Tom Seaver, 1986 in baseball, graduated from Fresno High School with Fred Bartels as his coach in 1962. Tommy wasn't very big at that time, only 5'9", 160, so nobody recruited him. He went in the Marine Corps, came back in 1964 and played for Len Bourdet at Fresno City College. He was a little bigger now. Then he went on and played that summer for the Alaska Gold Panthers in Fairbanks. Went on and played 1 year at USC for the great Rod Dedeaux in 1965. Signed with the New York Mets in 1966, 1 year in AAA, and then in 1967, for the next 20 years, he became a major league pitcher and is considered today one of the top 10 major league pitchers in the history of baseball. 3 times a Cy Young winner, 12 times an All-Star, Rookie of the Year in 1967. 1969, pitched the New York Mets to the World Series win over Baltimore. His manager was Gil Hodges. 311 wins for Tommy Seaver. Inducted in Cooperstown Hall of Fame in 1992 with the highest percentage of any player up to that time. Another Fresno High graduate, Frank Chance, way back, was inducted into Cooperstown also. Tom Seaver later became a broadcaster for the Mets and the New York Yankees. Then he and his wife Nancy moved up to Napa, California, starting a wine business. And back in 2013, we had the privilege of taking and naming Echo Street right in front of Fresno High School as Tom Seaver Drive. Today, Mets Stadium has in front of it 41, his number, Tom Seaver Way. the only player to my knowledge that has his name on a major league stadium today. 41, Tom Seaver. Tommy passed away on August 31st of this year at age 75. His dad, Charles Seaver, was also inducted in our Hall of Fame in golf way back in 1960. Tom Seaver, Tom Terrific, and the franchise. So we're honoring and remembering tonight Tommy Seaver, Ryan Wetnight, Art Rubel, Boyd Grant, Sam Bogosian, Fred Red Barnes, and Bob Bennett.
Thanks, Tom. The Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame sends our condolences to the families and friends of those we've recently lost. But the good news is, with the Hall of Fame, they'll always be remembered. And soon, here at the Save Mart Center, they'll be on display. We need your help to keep it running. For more information on the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame, visit our website, fresnoahof.org. Donations are always welcome. On behalf of everyone at the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame, I'm Andrew Martin. Thanks for watching, and thank you for your continued support.